You ever get that feeling like you're just watching your own life happen, almost like you're on the outside, looking in through this invisible sheet of glass? Well, today we're going to dive into a story that takes that exact feeling and flips it on its head. It asks a pretty wild question. What if that glass isn't actually a wall, but a door? And that's exactly where we meet our main character, Leo. He's this smart kid, but he's kind of disconnected, withdrawn. He feels like a total spectator in his own life. And it's this feeling that kicks off an absolutely incredible journey for him. A quest to figure out not just who he is, but what reality itself is. So what's the key? What unlocks this whole thing for him? Well, it's this mysterious object he finds in his grandpa's attic. A strange, glowing ribbon. This thing, it completely defies logic. It twists in on itself, and you can't tell where the inside ends and the outside begins. This is way more than just some old trinket. It's basically a map to the very fabric of reality. And the second Leo touches this thing, this impossible ribbon, boom, the attic just dissolves around him. He literally falls through that invisible glass he's been stuck behind his whole life. And right there, his real journey begins. So what is this object? It's something called a Mobius strip. And it's this fascinating little paradox. Here's the deal. If you tried to trace a line along what you think is the outside, you would magically end up on the inside, without ever lifting your finger or crossing an edge. How is that possible? Well, it's because there's actually only one side. Now, this isn't just some clever math trick. This is the central metaphor for everything, and I mean everything Leo is about to learn. Because this one-sided ribbon, it points to a huge fundamental truth. Our world is not what it seems, at all. It's actually one single continuous reality that just looks like it's split into two separate things. And those two apparent sides are what the story calls the ground of is and the ground of maybe. Think of the ground of is as the outside of the ribbon. It's the solid, physical world we can see and touch. It's what is. But then there's the ground of maybe. That's the inside of the ribbon. This is the realm of pure potential, a lot like the quantum field in physics, where everything exists only as a possibility, a wave, before it solidifies into something real. Now, Leo has a guide on this journey, a woman named Elara, and she explains it perfectly. She says the ground of maybe is the space of could be that exists right here, right now, alongside the world of what is. But here's the most important part. They are not separate places. They are two aspects of the exact same single surface. Okay, so if potential and reality are just two sides of the same coin, what flips the coin, right? How does something go from being a maybe to an is? The answer is actually pretty mind-blowing, and it's incredibly simple. You do. To explain this, Elara takes Leo to this place called the Hall of Projectors. I want you to picture a giant, vast dome, and the ceiling is covered in billions of tiny lenses. Each and every one of those lenses is a conscious observer. A person, an animal, anything with a point of view, an eye. And each one is projecting its own unique version of reality down onto the floor below. And this is where things get really, really transformative. See, we're not just passive viewers watching some pre-made movie called The World. No way. We are the projectors. Your consciousness, your unique point of view is actively shaping the reality you experience every single second of every single day. To make this idea even clearer, the story gives us another absolutely brilliant analogy. It breaks down the layers of our projected reality into 3 different states, and they're just like the states of matter: solid, liquid, and gas. Okay, so first up, you have the ice room. This is our normal, everyday waking state. It's where everything seems solid, separate, frozen. Basically, it's Leo's world behind the glass. Then you move to the water room. This is like the dream state. In here, all those rigid forms start to melt and flow together, and you start to see how everything is actually connected. And finally, you have the steam room. This represents deep, deep reality, a formless state of pure awareness where all that separation just dissolves away into one unified whole. All right, so if we're the projectors and reality has all these different layers, how do we consciously create something? How do we actually choose which movie we want to project? Well, the story gives us a really practical toolkit, and it's summed up with the acronym MIST. You can think of it as the fundamental recipe for creation. To bring anything into reality, you start with an idea, a really clear picture in your mind. Then you draw on the matter, which is that raw potential from the ground of maybe. And finally, you have to pull it into our world by giving it a location in space and a moment in time. Those four things working together are what turn a simple thought into something you can actually hold. And we actually see this happen. Leo focuses on a memory he has of a little toy airplane his grandfather gave him. He uses that MIST framework to literally reach into the fog of maybe and pull that idea into the is. And just like that, a solid, real airplane is sitting right there in his hands. He's not just a spectator anymore. He's actively participating in creating his reality. So all of this, it all leads to the final. And honestly, the most powerful revelation of Leo's entire journey. And it turns out, it's not really about creating objects. It's about understanding your fundamental role in the whole shebang. And here it is. The universe doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to who you are. That's the key. It's not about wishing you had friends, for example. It's about being a friend, embodying that state of connection. The change has to happen on the inside, in your own projection first. And that is exactly what Leo finally understands. He stops trying to change the world outside of him, and instead, he changes the film in his own projector. He shifts his inner state from being that lonely kid in the ice room to embodying the connected, flowing feeling of the water room. And by doing that, the glass shatters. His external world completely transforms to match his new internal state. So it really all boils down to this one powerful idea. Your attention, what you choose to focus on, the state of being you decide to embody, that is the literal twist in the ribbon of reality. That is the force that takes all of that infinite potential of maybe and collapses it down into the single solid experience of is. Which, of course, leaves us all with a pretty profound question to think about. If your world is a projection, if your experience is a film that you are actively creating right here and right now, then what film are you going to choose to play next?